was 7, I had no concept of danger. I grew up in a quiet suburb where everyone waved at each other, where you rode your bike until the streetlights came on, and your biggest worry was being the last one picked for tag. My mom took me to the same park every Tuesday after school, like clockwork. It had 2 slides, monkey bars, and a faded plastic dinosaur that all the kids climbed on like it was Everest. That day was no different. I was with my friend Katie. Our moms were sitting on a bench nearby, chatting the way parents do, half watching us, half locked in some conversation about school bake sales or neighborhood drama. We were taking turns racing from the slide to the swings and back. It was one of those golden fall afternoons where everything felt safe and still. I didn't even notice the man at first. He was just there, suddenly, standing near the edge of the sandbox, hands in his jacket pockets, watching. He didn't look creepy, at least not to a 7-year-old. He was probably in his late 30s, clean-shaven, short hair, nothing remarkable. He smiled and waved at me. I paused mid-step, a little unsure, but he kept smiling. "Hey there," he said, in that overly cheerful voice adults use when they're trying to seem harmless. "You seen a little brown dog around here?" He ran off while I was walking him. I shook my head and looked around the park. "No," I said. "I didn't see any dogs." "Shoot," he said, scratching the back of his neck. "He's real small, kinda nervous. I think he ran toward the woods. Do you think you could help me find him?" I remember blinking at him, caught off guard. "I'm not supposed to go near the woods." He laughed. "Well, I'll be with you. You'll be safe. I just need some help. You look like a smart kid." My stomach started to feel weird. I looked back toward my mom, but she was laughing at something Katie's mom had said. Neither of them were paying attention. "Come on," he said, and I swear I remember him lowering his voice, just slightly. "It'll only take a second." He stepped closer and held out his hand. I took a step back, and that's when Katie yelled, "Hey, where are you going?" The man's face changed in an instant. His smile dropped. His eyes narrowed. "Shh," he hissed. And suddenly, he reached out and grabbed my wrist. I froze. I didn't even scream at first. My brain just stopped. His hand was cold and rough and squeezing tight, trying to tug me toward the path that led around the back of the park and into the trees. Katie screamed, loud, shrill. That snapped me out of it. I yanked as hard as I could and stumbled backward. He lost his grip just long enough for me to run. I bolted straight for my mom, sobbing before I even got there. When I turned around, he was gone. Not walking. Gone. Katie pointed toward the trees, yelling that he'd run that way. But by the time anyone got over there was nothing. Just a few faint footprints in the mulch and a half-empty water bottle near the path. The police came. They asked me what he looked like, what he said, what direction he went. I don't think they ever found him. No arrests, no follow-up. He vanished like smoke. But I still remember his face, and I still remember the way it felt when his hand closed around my wrist. I didn't go back to that park for a long time after that. And when I did, I never wandered far from the bench. This happened a few years ago when I was in college. I'm a woman, and I was 19 at the time. I went to school in a mid-sized city, not huge, but big enough that taking public transportation was pretty normal for students who didn't have cars. I worked part-time at a restaurant near campus to help pay rent, and on weekends, I usually closed, which meant I'd get out late. Normally, I'd just drive home after my shift, but that week, my car was in the shop for a blown-out alternator, and I didn't have anyone to pick me up, so I had to take the bus. It was a Thursday night, Probably around 10:40 p.m. by the time I clocked out, grabbed my stuff, and caught the route that stopped a few blocks from my apartment. I remember being completely exhausted. My feet were killing me, my head was pounding, and I just wanted to get home, shower, and collapse. The bus wasn't crowded, just me, a guy in a hoodie near the front, a young couple a few rows back, and one man sitting a few seats behind me on the opposite side. I noticed him almost immediately, not because he was doing anything particularly strange, but because he was staring. I'd glance out the window, then glance back, and his eyes would still be on me. He wasn't trying to hide it, either. He looked to be in his mid to late 30s, clean-shaven, wearing an oversized coat and baseball cap. Something about him gave me the creeps, not just the staring, but the kind of empty look in his eyes, like he wasn't really blinking. I tried to ignore it, put my headphones in, focused on my phone. A few stops went by. People got off. The couple left. Hoodie guy, too. But the man behind me, still there. At one point, I caught a glimpse of his reflection in the window. He wasn't just watching. He was leaning slightly forward, like he was trying to listen to what I was listening to or read my phone screen. It gave me this weird, icy feeling in my stomach. By the time the bus reached my stop, it was just me and him. I pulled the cord, stood up, and headed for the exit. He stood up too, and got off right behind me. I tried not to panic. Maybe he lived nearby. Maybe this was a total coincidence. But the second my boots hit the pavement and I started walking, I heard his footsteps behind me. Same pace, same rhythm. I crossed the street at a weird angle. So did he. I cut through the side of a corner pharmacy parking lot. He followed. At this point, I was fully in fight or flight mode. I slowed down and let him pass me, thinking maybe I'd been mistaken. But he slowed down too. Didn't pass. Didn't even try to act like he was going somewhere else. He was following me, no doubt in my mind. I didn't want to go straight to my apartment and show him where I lived, so I took a sharp turn into a nearby apartment complex that had a parking garage. It wasn't gated or anything, just one of those open walk-in garages with stairwells and lots of concrete pillars. I ducked inside and slipped behind one of the pillars on the second level, heart pounding. Sure enough, a few seconds later, I heard the soft echo of footsteps behind me. Then the sound of them stopping. I didn't dare move. I peeked out just barely and saw him scanning the garage. Slow, deliberate, like he was looking for something or someone. That someone was me. I pulled out my phone and texted my roommate. No answer. I called her, straight to voicemail. That's when I heard his voice. "Hey," he called out casually, like he was talking to an old friend. "You don't need to be scared. I just want to talk." I stayed completely still, hoping he'd get bored and leave, but the footsteps started again. Closer this time, each one louder than the last. Then, out of nowhere, I heard a different voice, low, gruff, and very close. "Yo, what the hell are you doing in here?" Another guy stepped out from the stairwell, older, probably mid-40s. He looked like he'd just come from his car, carrying a gym bag, dressed in basketball shorts and a hoodie. Creepy guy froze, then turned, then bolted, down the ramp, out of the garage, and into the night. I stepped out from behind the pillar, completely shaken. The man looked at me, eyebrows raised. "You know that dude?" I shook my head, too stunned to speak at first. "He followed me off the bus," I said. I didn't know what to do. "Come on," he said, motioning toward the exit. "I'll walk you wherever you need to go." You live nearby?" I nodded and told him the building. It wasn't far. He walked me there and even waited outside until I was inside with the deadbolt locked. I reported it to the police the next morning. They said something similar had happened to a girl on the other side of campus the week before. Same bus line, same general time of night. They hadn't caught him yet, but they were investigating. That was the last time I took the bus after dark. And even now, years later, I still check over my shoulder when I'm walking alone. Because sometimes it only takes one bus ride for someone to decide they're going to follow you home. This happened back in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. I was working remotely for a bank at the time. Nothing exciting, mostly spreadsheets, Zoom meetings, and long hours of staring at a screen. With everything locked down and barely any social interaction, my sleep got completely messed up. I developed this awful insomnia where I'd be wide awake at 2 or 3 in the morning, just lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. Eventually, I started going on these late-night walks to clear my head. It sounds stupid now, but at the time, it helped. The streets were always empty. No traffic, no people, just me and the occasional raccoon. It was quiet, eerie, and kind of peaceful in a weird, end-of-the-world way. I lived in a fairly safe part of the city, and most nights I'd do the same loop around a few residential blocks and through a small greenway that connected 2 neighborhoods. That night started like any other. I couldn't sleep, so around 2:30 a.m., I grabbed my hoodie and threw on my sneakers. I left my phone behind. I'd been trying to take a break from screens to help my brain shut down. It was chilly but not cold. The sky had that soft orange glow from the streetlights, and everything was dead quiet, except for the occasional rustle of leaves. I did my usual lap, walking past the same houses, same empty bus stops, same cracked sidewalks. After about 15 minutes, I got to the entrance of the greenway, a narrow path that cut between some tall trees and ran along the edge of a creek for about 2 blocks. Normally, I didn't mind walking through it, even at night. But this time, something was different. As I turned the corner and started down the path, I froze. There was someone standing right in the middle of the greenway. Not walking, not stretching, just standing there, motionless. At first, I couldn't make out what I was looking at, but as I stepped a bit closer under the streetlight, I realized the person was wearing a full black morph suit. No face, no details, just a smooth black silhouette. Every instinct in my body screamed, nope. It's 2:30 in the morning. We're in the middle of a pandemic. No one is supposed to be out here, let alone dressed like some faceless mannequin. I didn't even hesitate. I turned around and started walking back the way I came, trying not to break into a sprint. I didn't want to give him a reason to chase me, if he was even planning to. But the vibe was all wrong. For a moment, I didn't hear anything, just my footsteps. Then, maybe 5 or 6 seconds later, I heard it. Footsteps, fast ones. I glanced over my shoulder and saw him, sprinting toward me at full speed. No hesitation, no sound. Just a black shape barreling toward me in total silence. I knew I wasn't going to outrun him. I'm not fast, and he was already gaining. So I made a split-second decision and darted off the path to the right, ducking behind one of the thicker trees near a bend in the trail. I pressed my back against the bark and held my breath. A second later, I heard the pounding footsteps rush past. Then, they stopped. Just a few feet away from where I stood, hidden behind the tree. I could hear him breathing, shallow, controlled, like he was scanning the area, waiting for movement. I didn't move a muscle. After what felt like an eternity, I heard him slowly walk back in the direction I'd come from. I waited a full minute after the sound of his footsteps faded before I peeked out. He was gone, but the panic hadn't passed. The problem now was that he'd gone back toward my apartment. I didn't want to lead him there if he was waiting to follow me. So I figured I'd wait a few minutes and then head the other direction, through the greenway, just long enough to circle around and come back on a different street. I made my way back to the path, scanning the trees every few feet. Nothing. Halfway down the greenway, I thought maybe I was in the clear. Then I heard someone yell, "Hey!" I froze. I looked around and spotted someone on the second-story balcony of an apartment building that backed up to the trail. He was pointing right at me. "There's a guy in a black suit watching you from the trees." I whipped my head to the side, and sure enough, I caught a glimpse of movement. Just beyond the tree line, I saw the morph suit guy duck behind a trunk, trying to stay hidden. I didn't wait. I took off sprinting. I didn't look back. I didn't breathe until I hit the edge of the greenway and burst back onto the sidewalk, gasping for air. I shouted a thank you to the guy on the balcony, don't even know if he heard me, and just kept running. But I wasn't home yet. I still had to make it 6 blocks back to my place. And now I was totally exposed. My heart was pounding, and all I could think was how badly I wished I'd brought my phone. I had 2 choices. I could run straight home and risk the guy still being close behind me, or I could make a break for the police station, which I knew was about 5 blocks in the opposite direction. I picked the station. It was stupidly far, but I wasn't about to lead this guy to my front door. I sprinted the entire way. Every time I passed a streetlight, I expected to see a shadow following behind me. But the streets were still empty, completely still. No traffic, no people, just me, my ragged breathing, and the echo of my own footsteps. When I finally got to the front steps of the precinct, I collapsed on the concrete, coughing and shaking. I must have looked insane. A couple of officers came out and asked if I was okay. I tried to explain the situation between gasps of air. They took me inside, got me some water, and sent a patrol car to check the area. They never found the guy. No sign of him. Not on the trail, not in the greenway, nowhere. I filed a report, and they said they'd keep an eye on the area, but without a face or a license plate or anything. There wasn't much to go on. That was the last time I went out for a late-night walk. Even now, when I take the trash out after dark or walk to my car at night, I find myself glancing over my shoulder because I don't know who that man was. I don't know what he wanted. And the scariest part is, he could have been anyone. Thanks for stopping by the channel. We hope you enjoyed these 3 truly terrifying stories. If you want to hear more just like this one, subscribe to our channel and turn notifications on so you can be reminded when we post a new long-form video every Tuesday at 10 a.m. If you have a story you'd like to hear read on the channel, email it to us at officialnightmarenarratives@gmail.com, and you might just hear your story read in a future episode. Thanks again for listening, and stay spooky, friends. We'll catch you in the next one.